I want to make the point, we're on Bearden Hill, and Kingston Pike is running up Bearden Hill, but Kingston Pike used to branch off across from where Krispy Kreme is, right? So Kingston's
behind the hill there.
Yeah. The new Kingston Pike gets up the hill, but I think the point was to avoid the hill. Right?
Yeah. It is on my bicycle. I don't know.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so here's our view of the Smoky Mountains. What is this building?
What's Hobby? No, you're talking about the one out there. That's Lakeshore.
Lakeshore, okay. So Lakeshore, from other local lores we learned, was late 19th century. You know, this place for a very long time was way out in the country. As a reminder, the city limits until the 1940 decade were like about where Fresh Market is on Kingston Pike.
Oh, okay.
Right.
This is your 1 hour horse ride into downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah, because how far are we from downtown? What did we decide? A horse walk's a 15-minute mile? Let me see what is our downtown.
We're about 2 miles out, aren't we? Well, I don't know. It depends on what you consider downtown.
We are 6.6 miles.
From downtown?
That's what it says.
Yep.
6.6 miles. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So that.
6.6 miles to what?
Downtown.
From here?
Yeah. So you're talking about a little better than an hour, probably, on a horse, unless you were really just getting it. Okay, so this house was built with a lightning arrestor system because they were so high up they were worried about lightning. And it cost $9,100 to build. So somebody could put that into an inflation calculator, but somebody want to volunteer to put $9,100 into an inflation calculator?
This is from 1850?
1851, yeah.
Wow.
This was all, what's it worth now, Jennifer, after the renovation?
A lot more.
What? I think this all wooded here then.
Yeah, this would have been about like what you see beyond Lakeshore. There's really, I mean, you couldn't even see Kingston Pike. Or smell wasabi.
Right, I know. Well, I mean, in our lifetime, this wasn't. You know, I can remember driving down Kingston Pike and this being all grass.
Yeah, I can remember this just being a hill of grass.
I remember in '84 there being a little log cabin where the Kimball's Jeweler is.
Really?
I don't know if that was. You made a comment about a cabin on a crest. There was a little cabin right there where the Kimball's Jewelers is. 1984. Because Nancy Reagan visited that log cabin in 1984.
Wow.
Because that was the Reagan Bush campaign headquarters right there.
Really? I wonder what it was.
The Kingston Pike that's here now, was that put there the same time Kingston Pike was rerouted in Bearden where we visited a couple of months ago?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I imagine that cars made this possible.
Right.
So I would say it's early
70s.
20th century. I would
Okay.
No, I mean I would think you were about the 50s. You were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a state route, right?
Yeah. And it evolved as a state route. So I don't know when those. In the 1950. Okay. On the 1950. I'll look on the late Sandward map and see when that improvement, that reroute was done.
Where they, the one I'm talking about is Kingston Pike used to go straight. Yeah, behind what is the theater, behind the theater.
Right.
And then they moved it over. So you think this came later than that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't very. This might have stayed longer because it was so far out in the country. But this is the state road. Did we figure out what it was?
Wow.
$362,000.
It says
All right.
Yeah, it's interesting with those inflation calculators because people spend different proportions of their income on housing over time. So that can kind of skew it a little bit. Okay, so
See the
yes.
orange cone?
I know, I always see that orange
I
cone.
wonder how it got there.
I don't know.
Funny.
And it was initially constructed
All right,
in
so this house was originally built in the federal style. It's not now. Now, what would you all call that? Close. It's colonial with neoclassic, right? It's neoclassic, right? Neoclassical. And they were added in the late 19th century. The bricks were handmade from clay from the backside of the hill by slaves. And the whole property included slave quarters, a dairy house, a well house, and barns. I thought this was interesting. There was a gas generating plant on site used to fuel gas lamps. And electricity. A later owner, Charles W. Griffith, added the distinctive porch in 1919, and he also added electricity.
When did you say the columns were
Put
in?
on
1919.
1919. Yeah.
They just put them back up. There has
2 weeks ago.
Does the research show how many owners it's had since General Reynolds?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the overhang part where the house
Oh. And there were 2 dormers up there. And I don't know if the side.
And there are pictures of this place. I have a really old one I found on my phone, and I don't know, I didn't find it on my phone. I put it on my phone, but I don't know where I found it to get it on my phone. Let me see if I can find it.
Before this was commercially developed, or this was the only building up here?
Yeah. And I remember it being the only building up here, but that's apparently a really old picture of the.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So these are our horses. Here's our horses.
I'm sure there were some stables up here.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I like
We
that
have
porch.
horses there.
That porch looks neat.
And from a
across
horse,
the front of the house.
from a horse perspective, drawing a wagon or something up here is pretty.
A good haul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good one.
Would do you have any pictures or drawings of where the driveway went from here? Did it sort of meander down the hill?
I remember it just being that. And I don't remember it being as well improved. I don't know that it was gravel, but I think it was pretty well. I've got this, this picture's from the 50s of it. It just looks like it's,
So the portico's always been part of it?
yeah, well,
The
since,
side
yeah,
porch?
yeah. Okay. Yes?
I was just going to ask who all did live here, but you're probably going to cover that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, an interesting topic, did not live here, but during the Civil War, Major General James Longstreet used the house as a command post before the siege of Knoxville. Many Confederate troops camped nearby. The Battle of Fort Sanders was alleged to have been planned in the dining room. So the connection was that Longstreet and Reynolds served in the Mexican-American War together. And apparently Reynolds got kicked out of the house after the Civil War. There's some talk that it was over a tax dispute with a man named William G. Brownlow, who Parson Brownlow we've talked about in other local lores. But a Supreme Court decision let Reynolds, who was then 64, and by the way was living in a modest house down where Food City is now, and his 19-year-old wife, Mary Alice Kennedy.
He was 64 and she was 19.
Yeah.
He probably went through a few wives. They died in childbirth a lot back then.
Yeah. So, just as a note, other familiar antebellum residences that we've discussed are Baker Peters' house, which I think would be a fun local lore.
That'd be great.
Yep.
It's another
With dinner to
Suppo-
follow.
Well, and so this is the last local lore of spring, but
Right.
we'll start up in fall, and between now and fall, I'll go ahead and make the schedule for next year.
Yeah.
So if you all have suggestions, text me.
Okay.
But I thought Baker Peters House was a good one. There's also Armstrong Lockett House, Crescent Bend, and Bleak House.
Bleak House, definitely.
These are all contemporary
And
or
with-
antebellum.
And Westwood are all the same family.
Yes.
Armstrongs. 3 generations.
Bleak House and
They're
Baker's
across
Peters
the
are
street
supposed to be
from each other,
haunted.
right?
I
Across
know.
Kingston Pike from each other.
Bleak-
Westwood's on the north side.
Crescent Bend and Bleak House are on the left as you go west. Westwood is on the right.
Yeah, it's
The one behind the Serpentine Wall. It's
Crescent-
now the Knox Heritage Headquarters.
Bleak House is from the son of the Crescent Bend, and the granddaughter is West House. Is Westwood of Crescent Bend. So the next person that owned the house was a railroad magnate and Union Civil War veteran, Robert Hanks Eddington, and he bought it in 1888. So he would have looked out and seen Lakeshore being built. Right? McClung and Company official Bruce Keene family bought the property in 1892. So,
What was McClung and Company?
wholesaling.
I know there was a carriage building McClung too.
Yeah.
Because I tried to get Matthew, my friend Matthew McClellan to try to tell me which was which.
So Charles Griffin moved into the mansion in the late 1910 decade. So, or around 1910. Griffith also used the front lawn as an airstrip at some point.
Oh, cool.
I don't know where that happens. Yeah.
Kind of land on the side.
I don't know where that happens. Let's walk around and see what we can see over here.
The airport was on Sutherland Avenue.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
So, in airplanes, there was also where the Whittle Springs golf course is. Fairmont Road used to be called Airplane Road past Whittle Springs because they had a flying field, is what they called them.
Oh, pretty flat back there.
Yeah.
This I have a hard
But
time.
this is not flat at all.
No.
It's bizarre.
So there's no Samuel Fraser in the lineage of the ownership of the house.
I didn't research everybody. I didn't go through the city
Well,
directory, but I just kind of
I'm
skimmed them. And I
thinking
didn't
that
get a
maybe
Fraser.
General Reynolds' daughter married Samuel Fraser because I belong to that DAR group.
Well,
And they're going to present a plaque up here in the next couple of months.
that's Lonis. Her name was Lonis.
But you're going to do it at Knollwood. So some way there's a tie-in to Knollwood.
I have some notes about DAR.